So, Jai Bhim and Namo Buddhaya. Today we are going to enter into the fifth session of our course on Babasaheb Ambedkar and the art of public speaking. Broadly, Babasaheb Ambedkar and rhetoric as to how we can influence other people through our power of speaking. And we have also seen in the last four sessions the different aspects of public speaking. And today we are going to move forward with a very interesting topic that has been brought to my notice by my dear friend Pratik, who is joining today from Delhi, and he is practicing a lawyer in the Supreme Court of India. His work is very remarkable. He was, one of the main movers of setting up the statue of Babasaheb Ambedkar in the premises of the Supreme Court, and in 1923, 2023, to commemorate Baba Saheb's, getting the Sanad on that day. So I welcome you all. I have made a presentation to go with the talk today. So let me share the presentation. So 1 minute. Okay, so the topic is how to advocate like Babasaheb Ambedkar and understanding the judicial rhetoric. So, as we have seen in the previous four sessions, the three types of rhetoric brought into discussion by Aristotle, and we have discussed about the deliberative rhetoric, by which we mean the convincing people for the future, the choices. It is also called the political rhetoric, and we saw many examples, instances of Baba Saheb's using deliberative rhetoric, and we have seen one case of Baba Saheb Ambedkar using demonstrative rhetoric, which is about uh, creating a kind of a community, and it's about the present tense, while the deliberative rhetoric, the political rhetoric, is about the future, and the judicial rhetoric is about the past. So it's also called the forensic rhetoric, and the kind of rhetoric that is used in the court to convince the juries or the judge is called the judicial rhetoric. And there are many instances as to how we can get the justice using the judicial rhetoric. So to begin the presentation or the session today, I would like to put these two remarkable statements of Baba Ambedkar, where he has remarked that I like profession of law practice very much. This is what Baba Ambedkar has said, that he liked the profession of law practice very much. And in one case, when Baba Ambedkar, couldn't win the case, and he has tremendous respect for the judicial system. So he has made this very profound statement. I am bound to obey his judgment, but I am not bound to respect it. So you see how you show your dissent. That's also very important, that you don't always consent with the outcome of the case. Sometimes you have to display your discontent. So with these two statements, let's go further. So journey of Baba Ambedkar as a lawyer is very interesting, very very interesting. So Baba Ambedkar, of course, was barrister from Gray's Inn, Bar at Law, and he was enrolled on 11th October 1916. Now, this date is very remarkable because this is the time Baba Ambedkar has just arrived from UK. He didn't come to India. He went to England directly to pursue his DSc from the London School of Economics, and also he enrolled in the Gray's Inn. That's the date of enrollment is 11th October 1916. And as we know that his scholarship ended, he hadn't had money to continue his education, both MSc and DSc, and also the bar at law. So he left for India, and then he was in India. He did a lot of work in India, founding the Muknayak newspaper and participating in the public policy, South Borough Commission, so on and so forth. So Baba Ambedkar did a wonderful job between this period when he came back to India, and he was given the grace period of 4 years. That within 4 years he can come back and join the courses. So inter alia, he has befriended Shahu Maharaj, who was very fond of Babasaheb Ambedkar, and a Manego conference was held. And then Babasaheb Ambedkar went to England again. So, very remarkable display of exchange of ideas between Shahu Maharaj and Babasaheb Ambedkar. Babasaheb Ambedkar received a letter dated 23rd June 1920 from Shahu Maharaj, where Tilak called Mahars a criminal tribes. And Babasaheb Ambedkar, I don't know, we don't know what Babasaheb Ambedkar had replied to that. But it's very remarkable that, young Babasaheb Ambedkar, 29 years old, and, he's receiving a letter from the Shahu Maharaj. And this is the content of the letter that I'm going to show you is this. So Shahu's letter to Babasaheb Ambedkar, my dear Dr. Ambedkar, please consult Mrs. Little on 2 points. Firstly, the point that Mahars were called a criminal tribe by Tilak. Can they proceed against him civilly? So can they bring a civil lawsuit against Tilak for having called Mahars a criminal tribe? And secondly, that the public funds are allegedly to be misappropriated by him or his party. Long accounts appeared in the Sandesh about them, maybe a newspaper. From those accounts, are the persons concerned liable to be proceeded with criminally and civilly or both? So he's asking because there was a mismanagement, misappropriation of money, and a lot of funds was also donated by Shahu Maharaj to Tilak's kitty. And he's inquiring whether, can they proceed either criminally or civilly or both against the people who misappropriated the funds. So I think this letter is very interesting because the same year Tilak died in August, and but he was very mischievous man, as we can see from this letter between Babasaheb Ambedkar and Shahu Maharaj. And the most interesting thing is that they are thinking of going legally against Tilak, and I think that's a very important point. So the legality, the court, the justice system was totally favored by our forefathers. So to continue the journey, this is utter barrister issued the degree of an utter barrister, bestowed upon by Gray's Inn on Babasaheb Ambedkar. I just put it here just to show it to you. And then Babasaheb Ambedkar, as we know, that he was called to bar on 25th June 1922, and Shahu Maharaj died on 6th May 1922. Babasaheb completed 12 terms of law. So in 1916, he completed a few terms. In 1917, he completed a few terms. 1920, there was a break in his education. Then 1921 and 1922. Just wait a minute. Sorry about that. Please mute your mics. So you see, Zimbabwe applied for advocate of Bombay High Court on 25th June 1923, and a sanad was issued to him on 5th July 1923. So, to commemorate the issue of a sanad to Babasaheb Ambedkar, this day, 100th anniversary was celebrated, and this is a letter that Babasaheb Ambedkar wrote in order to get a sanad from the Bombay High Court, and then Babasaheb also got a sanad from Kolhapur Court on 10th November 1927. Wait. So journey of Babasaheb Ambedkar as a lawyer, because the lawyering was the profession of Babasaheb Ambedkar, and through which he earned his bread and butter. But the way he served the masses also through his profession, I'm going to show you, some of his arguments, which are very important for all of us to understand, because his argumentative style is very interesting, and we can learn a lot from it. So early clients were, of course, the poor Mahars, and he couldn't earn a lot in the beginning of his law practice. And he joined law college, government law college, in June 1928 till March 1929. And then he became the member of the Legislative Assembly. He was the principal of law college, Mumbai, from June 1935 till May or June 1938. And you can still find his lectures on the English constitutional law. He delivered in 1934-35 in the Government Law College of Bombay, which are available in volume number 12. So this Government Law College is very interesting. It was founded, is the earliest college in Asia, which was founded in 1855. Babasaheb Ambedkar was a principal of the law college. So this is his photograph, when he was a professor in law college, and he groomed a lot of, the future lawyers when he was teaching there, and a lot of students were fond of him. So, he has written somewhere, when he was talking about the changes that needs to be brought in the syllabus of law. This background, why I'm spending some time on this background, because this is going to help you to appreciate what Babasaheb Ambedkar was as a lawyer. Some of the way he has developed his legal acumen, the way he has developed his legal competency is, itself a wonder. And, we are going to show you some of his, the argumentative, specimen. So, he says that if you want to be a good lawyer, he's addressing the students that the absence of any indication of a correct understanding of the fundamental principles underlying the laws which he is required to study. So you see, Babasaheb Ambedkar always went back to the fundamental principles. If whatever domain there is, whether it's economy or constitution or history or whatever subjects he was studying, he always went back to the fundamental principles underlying the laws which he is required to study. So there is a point of training for us, that we should always go after the fundamental principles of not just laws but any discipline that we study. Second thing, he says that absence of any grounding in general knowledge. So we should acquire a vast general knowledge, isn't it? We cannot have the limited knowledge about the world. If we want to be a good lawyer, we should, or a good student in any domain, we have to ground ourselves in general knowledge. And want of any presentment of the subjects, absence of any sense of relevancy of the answers given to the question asked. So we should answer the question in a way that are relevant to the question asked. This is a very important point. We cannot do what is called the digression, or what is called the buying time, or the arguments which are misguided. We should always have the answers which are relevant to the questions. Absence of any sense of precision in stating facts, arguments, and opinions. So the precision is very important. This is very, very important, to have a precision in stating facts, arguments, and opinions. This is true in case of all the disciplines, but very much so in case of law. And he says that inability to express in clear language what the student has in his mind. So it's very, very important. These 6 points are so important that they form a matrix by which we can study any subject, particularly from this point of view of the law. These are the very important points. And improve argumentative skills, that we have to strive to improve the argumentative skills. And these are the skills to be acquired: a knowledge of the individual and how he functions in society, a knowledge of the working of the human mind, that means human psychology, a mind trained to drawing logical inferences, that's the domain of the art of speaking, thinking logically, arguing logically. And there are a lot of logical tools which are available in the domain of rhetoric that we can use, and Babasaheb Ambedkar has used. Now, working as a lawyer, Babasaheb Ambedkar has a certain definite modus operandi that we can glean from his vast, available, drafts, and the way he argued and has written. So you see, whenever Babasaheb Ambedkar was a lawyer, criminal, he was practicing criminal law, civil law. I'm going to show you his domain of law. There is no domain untouched in the law that Babasaheb Ambedkar did not touch. So you see, this is the point that is very important is, whenever Babasaheb Ambedkar undertook the criminal cases, particularly the murder cases, he always visited the sites of crime. Always, always, always. So there are many instances where Babasaheb Ambedkar has gone to visit the sites of crime to reconstruct what has happened, exactly what happened, and how it has happened, where it has happened. So, he has this very, very important modus operandi to visit the sites of crime. He mapped the areas. In some cases he has gone and taken the notes of the distances, and how the houses were constructed, the rooms where the murder took place. So his mind was very, 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 very logically involved in terms of finding out the area. And then he also used the models of the space. He created the models. He had this very important thinking style when it came to law, to model something, to model the crime scene, to model the various sites, so that he can have the very clear understanding as to how it happened, where it happened, and the logical sequence of that. He was very meticulous in drafting, very meticulous. I'm going to show you one specimen left behind by him as to how he drafted a particular case of a murder. And then, he said that it's very important command over the language. He could turn the words, the phrase in a way that, he could convince the people. Then he said that, it's very important to understand the psychology and the mood of the judge while you argue in the court. And very important is you should be able to demonstrate what actually happened at that particular site when the crime was committed. So you see, these are some of the very interesting points that we can bear in mind about, it is not just useful to work as a lawyer, but as a truth seeker, as a general practitioner who is hunting for the truth, who is hunting for the facts. I think these are all important practices that we can learn from Babasaheb Ambedkar. So, just to give you the example of legal drafting of Babasaheb Ambedkar, this is a very beautiful, example left behind as to how you can draft something. The plot of assassination, first plot, then in the second part, second plot, and, he goes into the details of it. And then, composition of the assailants, who were the assailants, who belong to which village. Like five belongs to Khed, two belongs to Sap, five belongs to Tadwale. See, he goes very, he goes at the depth of it. Then, the Vithoba, the case of Vithoba is very interesting. So, you see, this is what is the motive. So, you see, any crime is committed, it's the duty of a person to understand what is the motive, what was the motive behind and you can see here the way Babasaheb Ambedkar has, scratched something, numbered certain things. You see, this is very important. The way he has, the way Babasaheb Ambedkar has drafted this legal thing. So you see, I have written it somewhere as to how he drafted it, but this is not. I want to spend more time on many other factors that are there today. So I don't want to spend much time on these things. I just want to show you that how meticulous Babasaheb Ambedkar was in drafting. Very clear. He worked on the papers. He tried to bring all the facts of the cases together, arrange them logically, and come to the conclusion. So his professional law practice, we can see he started from 1923 and it ended till he was alive, 1956. That is Babasaheb Ambedkar's bread and butter. So he fought the criminal cases, civil cases, defamation cases, even atrocity cases, sedition cases, constitutional cases after the constitution came into being. And he also appealed to the election tribunal in 1952 when he was lost from the Bombay constituency of Bombay. So he argued in Bombay High Court, Nagpur High Court, Kolhapur, Satara, Ujjain, and many other places like Nashik and Satara, and you name it. He argued everywhere. So he also at the same time fought for the cause, and this is a very remarkable case that we all need to know. This is the URI murder case, and there was a quarrel between the Khoth, who was very exploitative, and there was a riot in which the exploitative Khoth named Muhammad Khan Deshmukh got killed, and there were 21 accused, and 3 were Chambars and 18 were Mahars. And the in the lower court, the case was lost in a sense that the accused were punished, and the case came to Babasaheb Ambedkar. So you see, this is very interesting that that time, a lot of money was needed to fight the case, and there was an appeal through the Janta to create what is called the Underi Defense Fund. It's very interesting, very logical that we have to do. If there are the cases where we have to fight on the behalf of the community, we have to create the defense funds. This idea, is so prevalent among the blacks in America. So the defense fund to fight the case is very important, and the 105 rupees were raised as the Underi Defense Fund. Many people contributed to that. And Babasaheb Ambedkar, argued in the appellate court, and he was successful. And there is a whole range of what Babasaheb Ambedkar achieved. Out of the 21 accused, Babasaheb Ambedkar acquitted 6 people who were acquitted, and other people where their punishment was reduced drastically. And Babasaheb Ambedkar argued on 23rd July 1934, as he argued so brilliantly. He was such a persuasive lawyer that he won the case for his clients. And Babasaheb Ambedkar was against the courts from very early on. The courts were exploiting the lower castes, including the Mahar, Chambars, and including the poor Marathas. So this can be seen as a fight of the farmers against the landlords. And interestingly, Babasaheb Ambedkar, though he has a lot of struggle in his life, Babasaheb Ambedkar did not charge any fees for the court case. And the result came in 1934. The same year the result came, and Babasaheb Ambedkar argued in favor of them. So I just wanted to show you that Babasaheb Ambedkar just didn't make the law as a profession to make bread and butter, but deeply he was involved in fighting for the cause. So Underi murder case is a case which shows, is a very emblematic case which shows as to how community stood together, and how Babasaheb Ambedkar argued in the appellate court, and got 6 people acquitted out of 21, and other people has drastically reduced sentences. So this is a model that we have to use even today. So fighting for the cause. Another case is Mahar Satyagraha. The Mahar Satyagraha took place in 1927. The legal battle went on for 10 years, and the result came in favor of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar in 1937. So there's a very beautiful document available on the Supreme Court website, which is the judgment of the Mahar Satyagraha. Narhari Damodar Vaidya versus Bhimrao Ramji Ambedkar, and judgment came in 1937. So very, very interesting judgment which went in favor of Babasaheb Ambedkar. So I'm just going to read the last part of it. We therefore, that means the judges, agree with the learned assistant judge that the appellants have not established the immemorial custom which they allege. Had they succeeded on this point, it might have been necessary to consider whether the custom was unreasonable or contrary to public policy. See, so these are very, very interesting documents that not only the law students, but all of us should go through them. So this is one of the first cases of Babasaheb Ambedkar. It's very interesting. This is also related to the restoring of the Vatan land, which was occupied by Marathas. And this is very interesting that this Vatni land was acquired by them for 80 to 90 years, and the Mahars of Gomewadi made an application and requested the Mamledar and collector to obtain their Mahar ki land back, but there was no justice to them. The Mahar then came to meet Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar in Bombay and requested him to accept their case. Babasaheb Ambedkar accepted his case and won it. Now there is a very interesting case, very, very interesting incidents here. So Mahars put rupees 300 in coins on his table as fees for the case. So you see, there might not be notes, rupees, so they put like 300 coins on his table as fees for the case. He kept this amount in skirt of dhoti and came back home. The moment he entered home, he poured all these coins of rupees 300 in front of his wife Ramabai Ambedkar and said, "How much money do you want? Take this money. You have always been complaining that I am not paying attention to you and our kids properly. Please count this money." She started counting in such a way that she kept all coins in 11 rows, each of rupees 200, and answered saying unable to state exact amount. In fact, she could not say total amount because she was illiterate. Understanding her position, Babasaheb Ambedkar laughed at her with love, saying, "This is good that you are illiterate. Otherwise, you would have harassed me more." Now, this is just a humorous dialogue. We don't have to see patriarchy in that. But this is how the couple had a tremendous love for each other. And Babasaheb Ambedkar said at one point of time that he learned the basic economics from his wife Ramabai, how to manage the monthly expenses. So I just put it here just to show you, give you an, some understanding of, Baba Saheb's life as a lawyer. So he fought many cases, hundreds and hundreds cases. You can see them, you know, um, Vijay B. Gaikwad has done a wonderful job. He has compiled lots of cases through, hunting out for the papers, meeting the people, the descendants of those who had, taken help of Baba Ambedkar in the court cases, and very, very important cases. So he had published 3 volumes. They are not very well edited, but they are so important to glean a lot of information that we can learn a lot about Baba Ambedkar's style of argument. But unfortunately, there is no argument available except in one case, which I'm going to show you, and that was serialized in a newspaper because that was the fight between the new article in the newspaper and the person who filed a suit of defamation. So I'm going to show you that. But how Babasaheb Ambedkar argued. This is a 29-page document which is available to us. But some of his arguments can be gleaned from these 3 cases: the R.D. Karve case, and then there was a Dinkar Rao Javalkar case, and then Vividharutta case, which is very, very interesting cases there are. I'm not going to go much into that, but let's begin with the Javalkar case. So J.D. Javalkar were the 2 important leaders of the Satyashodak Samaj. They always had a fight with the Brahmins. So in 1925, there was a case between Sridhar Pant Tilak and Javalkar. Now, Krishnarao Javalkar is a very interesting character. He was the follower of Mahatma Jyotiba Phule, and he was writing scathing articles on the Brahmins, against the Brahmins. And he has written an article where he has critiqued Tilak, and Sridhar Pant Tilak, the son of Tilak, has filed a case against Javalkar, and he won. So, you see, Sridhar Pant Tilak is a very interesting character. He was such a he became such a close friend of Babasaheb Ambedkar that when he committed suicide, he wrote his last letter to Babasaheb Ambedkar, Sridhar Pant Tilak. And there this very famous case, 1925. But Javalkar has this, he has this front against the Brahmins, and again, there was a book published called Deshache Dushman, the enemies of the nation, and there he criticized heavily the Brahmins of that time, and including Vishnu Shastri Chiplunkar. And he designated them as the enemies of the nation. So you see, this is very interesting because Vishnu Shastri Chiplunkar, against whom Javalkar has written the book, J.D. Javalkar and Wagde. And that book is a very remarkable book indeed. And Vishnu Shastri Chiplunkar was so much against Jyotiba Phule that he used to ridicule his movement. He used to ridicule his Marathi, and they had this non-Brahman and Brahman quarrel was at the peak in Maharashtra that time. So Javalkar, J.D. and Bagde versus Krishna Chiplunkar. It's a very interesting case. So in the beginning, lower court, Babasaheb Ambedkar didn't accept the case, though he was called by J.D. Javalkar. He discussed with them and he gave some advice. And he also said that it's a good book written in a bad taste. And he did not take the case first. So in the Pune Session Court, Mr. Fleming, the judge, sentenced Javalkar, J.D. and Bagde, and they were in the jail. So very interesting. They were in the Erwada jail. And then Babasaheb Ambedkar took on the case. So very interesting. And Babasaheb Ambedkar, when he took on the case, he didn't go into the content of the book much. But he appealed and argued, this is very interesting, that Mr. Krishna Mahadev Chiplunkar was not the direct relative of Vishnu Shashi Chiplunkar, and hence he has no right to file a defamation suit. And Babasaheb Ambedkar won the case for Javalkar, Jede, and Bhagre. Now, interestingly, 1927, this see, Babasaheb Ambedkar is a very remarkable human being. From his early phase of his movement, he's trying to bring people together, make them work together. Even the staunch enemies, the Brahmins and the non-Brahmins, like Sridhar Panta Chilak and Jede Javalkar. Ultimately they came together because of Babasaheb Ambedkar. That was Babasaheb Ambedkar. He is a man who united the people who are divided by the opinions. That is Babasaheb Ambedkar. And we now know how Sridhar Pant Tilak loved Babasaheb Ambedkar. He opened his houses for the untouchables. He was completely sold out to Babasaheb Ambedkar thoughts and the movement. So see, these are very interesting events episodes in the history that we don't know. So let me just throw some light on the way Babasaheb Ambedkar argued in the case of Javalkar, enemies of nation. So this is what Advocate Babasaheb Ambedkar asked, whether their attention has been drawn to the judgments delivered by Mr. Fleming. So Mr. Fleming was a city magistrate of Pune, and he has given two different judgments in the similar cases. Like Emperor versus Baburao Phule, that was one case, and there was another case, Emperor versus Javalkar, and other. In both of which the accused were charged under Section 500 of the IPC. So you see, Baburao Phule's case was like this: that there was a defamation case against Baburao Phule, saying that he has claimed that Jyotiba Phule has become a Christian. So that was his defamation. And Javalkar's defamation, we know that he has called this Chaplunkar, another Brahmin leader, as the enemies of the nation. So in the cases were same, but the sentences were different. So Babasaheb Ambedkar is bringing these two cases, and he's arguing. He's saying whether they are aware that Mr. Fleming has delivered contradictory judgment on a common point of law involved in both the case. This is the genius of Babasaheb Ambedkar. Look at his argumentative style. Whether the complainant is an aggrieved person within the meaning of Section 198 of the Criminal Procedure Code. Whether they have called for an explanation from Mr. Fleming. He is directly putting the judge in the custody. He's asking Mr. Fleming, as to why he delivered such contradictory judgments. Whether they propose to take any steps against Mr. Fleming in this connection. You see, he's making Mr. Fleming the judge of the lower court. As to bring his contradictory judgment in the similar cases, the common point of law. So these are the way Babasaheb Ambedkar has argued in this case is very interesting. Then S.K. Bhole goes on and takes on Babasaheb's point, and we know that Javalkar, Jede, and Bagde were released. Then another interesting case, Samaj Shastra was a magazine run by R.D. Curve, who studied in Germany, came back to India, and he saw that there are a lot of superstition in India, particularly in case of the sexual education, sex education. And he published a lot of articles, in his magazine. And, a suit was brought against him that his magazine is obscene. And then the way Babasaheb Ambedkar has argued that case, though R.D. Curve, couldn't win, but he has very lesser degree of penalty imposed on him. The main point that argued in this case, in the court. So the main point of Babasaheb Ambedkar was this: an accused has been publishing this magazine for the people's education. This is very important. You see the way Babasaheb Ambedkar argues, after distilling down all the facts of the case. And he says here very beautifully, an accused has been publishing this magazine for the people's education, not for money, and this fact is open to understand from statement of an accused. The correspondence of letter is obscene should not be decided merely by considering questions. In fact, to decide whether correspondence of letters is obscene, then questions asked by reader and their answers must be considered at the same time. Whether answers of the question inspires immoral way, which comes openly from question, has to be seen firstly, and if same is not obtainable from it, therefore correspondence does not turn to be obscene, because according to definition of law, the correspondence by which people get spoiled, then it becomes obscene, but here it comes in a reverse form. The magistrate stated that here few answers given to questions may create an inspiration. So you see, this is very interesting that when Babasaheb Ambedkar argues the case, he also educate the judges in one of the cases that I'm going to show you, that he is also educating the judge about the law. And most in many cases the judges are the British, like they are, sometimes they are not, in many cases they are not Indians, they are British. And Baba Ambedkar brings in so much of expertise in every case, his vast reading to argue the case. I wish if we could actually see Baba Ambedkar arguing in the court, the way he would have talked. Sometimes he was 8 hours on his legs in the court when he was arguing the cases. So you see, this argumentative style, we do not have the exact sort of the arguments that Baba Ambedkar has made, but the specific points that we see, we glean from the whatever the final judgments available to us. We can see the brilliant mind of Baba Ambedkar. So you see here, Baba Ambedkar is talking about saying that whatever is talked in the magazine, it's also available in the books, and they are available in the libraries. So the question doesn't come that the magazine is spoiling the people, the reader. So that is basically his point. And this is the last point in that regard. This magazine is affordable to everybody who can purchase, was an objection raised by police. Merely certain subjects are mentioned in it, hence this book cannot be said to be obscene. To prove this point, he referred to the judgment given by Honorable Judge Batcher and Honorable Judge Rao in suit King versus Vishnu Krishna Puranik. The matters regarding masturbation were discussed in the book for advertisement of medicine, and the same was easily available to anybody. You see, so Baba Ambedkar is bringing the vast expertise, the previous cases, the knowledge, and the scientific domain, and so on and so forth to argue his case. So, this is the landmark case in the history of India that actually Baba Ambedkar has argued in favor of, saying that sex education is not obscenity. So, after a long time, people understood, the judges understood that how right Baba Ambedkar was even that time. So, this is another interesting case, the defamation case, Tatnis versus Ali Bahadur Khan, 1937. And this case is very interesting because we have the transcripts in Marathi available to us, and I'm going to show you those transcripts in Marathi. The English translation which is available in the volume is not up to the mark. So maybe somebody has to translate them in a legal language and the way Baba Ambedkar has argued them. And Baba Ambedkar has argued in English, which was translated in what is called Marathi by Tatnis, the editor of the Vivid Rutta. So he gave the account, day-to-day account of how Baba Ambedkar argued. So this is what was the case about. Tatnis was the editor of a newspaper called Vivid Rutta. And Ali Bahadur Khan was the leader of the Muslims, and even he was the member of the municipal corporation. And there was a quarrel over building of Sabha Mandap in Bhaikala, Maruti temple. There was a Maruti temple, and the Muslims and the Hindus were at the loggerheads. And the writings and the inflammation went so out of hand that there was a riot between the Hindus and the Muslims. And Tatnis wrote an article against Ali Bahadur Khan, claiming that he was one of the instigators, or he was the instigator of the riots. Ali Bahadur Khan was, of course, running another newspaper as well that time, Hilal. And those copies are not available today. And Tatnis wrote against Ali Bahadur Khan, and Ali Bahadur Khan filed a defamation suit. And Baba Ambedkar defended Tatnis successfully. So you see, Baba Ambedkar fought for everybody. He fought for the Brahmins, he fought for the non-Brahmins, he fought for the scheduled caste, he fought for the British. There was a case of Mr. Spratt, another defamation, sedition case. And he wrote an article, India and China. Baba Ambedkar was one of the lawyer arguing that, that was his argument, his pamphlet doesn't fall under the sedition law. There is so much in this area because so many cases Baba Ambedkar fought. We can learn a lot from them. But I just wanted to give you some taste of how Baba Ambedkar has argued in this particular domain. So you see, I'm going to show you, some of the, I'm going to show you in Marathi as to how Babasaheb Ambedkar argued. And I'm not going to go through all the points. I'm going to go through some of the points. But he has made these grounds, how not to find something defamatory. He said objectionable, but in exceptional circumstances. So even if your writing is objectionable, but in exceptional circumstances, it is not defamatory. That's one condition, one ground. If any statement is true and is essential for public interest, then it is not defamatory. If it is written in good faith, even if it is not necessarily true, but made in a particular occasion, then it cannot be defamatory. So on these three grounds, Babasaheb Ambedkar argued the case. He brought in the past cases from the English law, English courts, and he argued beautifully in this case. So let me show you some of the Raj Ratan Thoser, who has compiled very beautiful books on Babasaheb Ambedkar. He was very kind enough to share with me this writing, which I want to share with you as well. So it's in Marathi. I will translate wherever I can. So let me see whether I can share that. Okay, here we go. So you see, this is the case, and it was published in Marathi. So this is the only instance of how Babasaheb Ambedkar's argument is available to us. Let's go to, what is this? Wait. Okay, so you see, this is the case, as I was telling you, Ali Bahadur Khan versus Alamgir. Alamgir was the assistant of Tatnis, and he used the name Alamgir. So you see, Babasaheb Ambedkar was to go to Japan, but he didn't go because Tatnis was his good friend, and he requested him to fight this case on his behalf. So Babasaheb Ambedkar didn't go to Japan. He was supposed to go to Japan in 1938. And this was, and the judge was Mr. Reginald Mathelon. And this particular draft is showing the who were the opponents and who were the defenders. So you see, I'm going to read you some of the things here. This was argued in English, but it's available in Marathi. So Babasaheb Ambedkar is asking the accused, no, the defendant, accused was Tatnis. So Babasaheb Ambedkar is asking him in Marathi, this is in Marathi, but I will translate in English wherever I can. भायखला येथील मारुतीच्या सभामंडपाचे काम शक्य तितक्या लवकर पुरे करावे. असा अर्ज 40,000 हिंदू नागरिकांच्या सहाय्यांनी मुंबईच्या मेयरला करण्यात आला. त्या संबंधाने हा तुमचा अग्रलेख आहे. So Babasaheb Ambedkar is asking whether, in Baikala there was Sabha Mandap was to be constructed for Maruti, and 40,000 Hindus have signed and urged the Mumbai mayor. So is your article written in this regard? So Ali says yes. So he says, हा लेख हिंदूंना उघड आव्हान आणि मुसलमानांना प्रोत्साहन इन्साइटमेंट देण्याच्या उद्देशाने तुम्ही लिहिला आहे असे मी म्हटले तर ते रास्त होईल की नाही. So he says that if I say that if you have written this article to incite the Muslims and challenge the Hindus, if I say this, will you agree with me? So Ali says, no, I don't agree with you. Then he says, मुसलमान लोक या मंडप प्रकरणात स्वस्त बसले आहेत. या गोष्टींच्या हिंदूंनी अवास्तव फायदा घेतला असे तुम्ही या लेखात लिहिले असून मुसलमानांना त्या स्तब्धतेबद्दल तुम्ही दोष दिला आहे. So he says that in that article in Hilal on 1926, you have said that, you have said that Muslims have sat quietly there and the Hindus are taking undue advantage of them. Ali says, no, I have not written like that. And this is not the translation because it was written in Urdu. This is not the translation of what I have written. But Babasaheb Ambedkar said that you have written clearly in that particular, particular Agralek, that article, that Musalman Jivant आहेत हेही हिंदूस दाखव. That the Muslims are jinda, we will show it to Hindus. So Ali, says, असे मधलेच एखादे वाक्य वाचून तसा मतलब कसा घेता येईल. So he says that, if you read something in between, how can you infer like that I am instigating the Muslims? And this argument goes on, And Babasaheb Ambedkar asked him questions like, he asked a question about the word jinda, that the Muslims are jinda and Muslims will show to the Hindus that they are jindas. And Babasaheb Ambedkar says that the meaning of the word jinda is alive and kicking. And when Babasaheb Ambedkar says this, Ali says that he is confused because Babasaheb Ambedkar is asking him questions from different angles, and the magistrate also laughs. Everybody laughs. He says that you tell me and I will write it in a proper way. तुम्ही सरळ सांगा आणि मी सरळ लिहून घेतो. So that's what the magistrate says. So you see, Babasaheb Ambedkar is now going after one word jinda, and he says that Babasaheb Ambedkar is now talking about the article that Ali has written. So this is in Marathi, and Babasaheb Ambedkar is asking question to Ali, and Mr. Ali is hair splitting the words, and magistrate ask him not to do the hair splitting of the words. So then another word that Babasaheb Ambedkar talks about is the elasticity. So, Babasaheb Ambedkar says that you have written further that इस्लाम की फितरत में कुदरत ने लचक दी है, इतना ही उभरेगा कि जितनी दबा देंगे. So Islam is basically elastic. The more you press it, the more it will rebound. So this is what he says. And Ali says that this is just a poetic word. It has not, I'm not, by Hafiz. He's using the poetry of Hafiz. And, the argument is very beautiful. Very, very beautiful. It goes into that. And Babasaheb Ambedkar, you see, this is a very beautiful phrase here. There is a bit of news and a lot of views. So Ali says that I have taken one news from Lucknow's newspaper that there was a temple was erected in the night. And Babasaheb Ambedkar says that, it is not just a news, but there are a lot of views. So see, the way Babasaheb Ambedkar turns the phrases, the way he argues is so, astonishing that you can see, this one phrase available to us in English. There is a bit of news and a lot of views. Then there is a lot of things that Babasaheb Ambedkar has gone into. Babasaheb Ambedkar says that, in the riots, you might have added fuel to the fire. Your article might have added fuel to the fire, and so on and so forth. So let me go further. This is I would have circulated this in the group, but Raj Ratan Thosar has told me not to circulate in the group. So this is just for your eyes, and whenever it's available, it will be available to you all. But this is the only argument that is available to us, which is translated in Marathi, which the original is in English. So soon I think it will be available to all of us. So this is actually the actual case argued by Babasaheb Ambedkar, where we can see the arguments of Babasaheb Ambedkar and also the arguments of the other party, and the way Babasaheb Ambedkar has has given justice. So Mr. Tatnis was not implicated. He was fined very meager, and he was let loose by the magistrate. So let me. So let me go back to my previous slide. I just want to finish with some things. I just wanted to show you how Babasaheb Ambedkar has argued in the court of law. So this is a very interesting case, Agman Das case, and Babasaheb Ambedkar, he was a relative of Guru Ghasidas, a very famous saint from our community Satnami from Chhattisgarh, and there was a murder case against him, and the Nagpur High Court, and Babasaheb Ambedkar had won the case for Agman Das. So Babasaheb Ambedkar is well connected throughout our people all over India. This case shows. So this very interesting episode that I wanted to bring you. How the decorum has to be maintained. It's a question of ethos. So having seen Judge Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar did not salute him. Therefore, Honorable Judge asked Dr. Ambedkar, "Why did you not salute me?" Dr. Ambedkar replied to question, "How do I recognize you that you are Honorable Judge?" So Honorable Judge, puzzled, having known this reply, and started looking here and there. He immediately went Judge's dressing room and tied white bow to the neck and then came on dais. He came to know his mistake, that he did not tie the white bow to neck as soon as he touched his own neck with hand. Thereafter, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar stood and saluted Honorable Judge with respect. So this is a case of a decorum, isn't it? So you see, Babasaheb Ambedkar is not saluting the person; he's saluting the position that is occupied by Honorable Judge. And I began my presentation with a very interesting, statement by Babasaheb Ambedkar, that he will accept the judgment, but he will not respect the judgment. So you see, this is Babas Ambedkar. Babas Ambedkar's house in Delhi was called the Insaf Ki Koti. That means house of justice. And he was, of course, the Insaf Ka Devta, the god of justice. There are many cases where Babas Ambedkar has not charged a dime to fight the cases. But this is one very interesting case that I wanted to, share with you. This is widow versus best. The best is, of course, the corporation Bombay, where that time a private corporation. So Lingubai Maruti Landge's case, very interesting case. Her husband died. Maruti Landge died of electrocution, an accident, working with the best, and the best didn't compensate, in the beginning. So this lady went to Lingubai went to Babasaheb Ambedkar with her 2.5 years old child. And Babasaheb's attendant never let anybody meet Babasaheb Ambedkar if when he was studying. And Babasaheb Ambedkar was engrossed in his studies. He was studying. 1 hour passed, 2 hours passed, and 3 hours passed. And the infant was not well. He was sick, and he started crying. So that disturbed Babasaheb Ambedkar. And Babasaheb Ambedkar came out and he saw a lady with her child, and the child was crying because he was hungry. So Babasaheb Ambedkar told his assistant that he should have let Lingubai in, and they with her infant, and they would have discussed the case. But what Babasaheb Ambedkar did, and this account is so emotional and so interesting, Babasaheb Ambedkar didn't talk about the case to begin with. He took the child himself to the milk shop. He fed the child with his own hands the milk. And after, when he was satisfied, he brought him home, and he listened to the Lingubai's case. There are many episodes in the life of Babasaheb Ambedkar as to how he was taking care of people, how he looked after the people, even a small child, 2.5, such a famous man in India, taking the child himself to the milk shop and feeding him the milk. Very rare in the human history. You can find such an individual. So Lingubai, of course, was moved. She requested Babasaheb Ambedkar. She touched his feet and requested Babasaheb Ambedkar, Babasaheb, save my child. My child is glory of my family. And this reply of Babasaheb Ambedkar is very touching. He says, your son is not only the glory of your family, but also is a sprout of my tormented and harassed classes. So the word in Marathi might be Ankur. That this boy is the Ankur of my, oppressed and depressed classes. And Babasaheb Ambedkar argued pro bono. He didn't charge any fees from Lingubai, and won the case for her, and she got the compensation. So there are many cases where Babasaheb Ambedkar has given justice to the poor and the needy people. So this is the last slide, but it's very touching slide. This had happened, in a small cause court in Bombay. There was a small cause court in Bombay, and there, Mr. Mewani filed a case against Babasaheb Ambedkar. He was the constructor of Rajagriha, and because he delayed the work longer, he claimed that 40,000 rupees are due to Babasaheb Ambedkar. So Babasaheb Ambedkar went to the court, and there is this case, Babasaheb Ambedkar versus Mewani constructor. And Babasaheb Ambedkar could not attend the proceedings of the court. He was very sick in November 1956, just a month before he left us. And the small cause court, gave a judgment against Babasaheb Ambedkar. Babasaheb Ambedkar had to pay 40,000 rupees immediately. His wife Savita, went from one door to another to ask for money. They went to one person whom Babasaheb Ambedkar appointed. After he found a fault in when the Taj Mahal was leaking, and he said he got 20,000 rupees the very next day. and 20,000 rupees were arranged. Other ways, Babasaheb Ambedkar hadn't had any money in his bank. He was bankrupt, as it were, only 250 rupees or something when he died in his bank account. So you see, this horrible judge in the small cause court, because Babasaheb Ambedkar could not attend the proceedings of the court as he was sick, the judge said that he can go to Nagpur for conversion to Buddhism and cannot come to the court. This was the arrogance of the people, the man who made this country what it is, democratic, people's republic. He was rebuked by a petty judge saying that he can go to Nagpur for conversion to Buddhism and cannot come to small cause court. So this is the last case. Babasaheb Ambedkar lost to Mewani and he has to pay 40,000 rupees. So, there is a lot that, is there in this particular class that we can think about, because this is very, very unique sort of, I would say, dimension of Babasaheb Ambedkar, which we hardly know. Baba Saheb's legal knowledge, Baba Saheb's legal acumen, Baba Saheb's, the skills, Baba Saheb's way of arguing, giving justice. I think what Baba Saheb Ambedkar was is very remarkable, and I often say that we only know, just a little of who Baba Saheb Ambedkar was. So, I think we can go on and on, but I have got my friend here, Pratik, who would be throwing some more light on what I have just presented. So Pratik bhai, please.
Sir, am I audible?
Yes, Pratik bhai, yes, you are audible, yes.
Yeah, Jai Bhim to all. It's a very interesting topic indeed, and very close to our heart because we are lawyers here and practicing at Supreme Court. Whatever the travel has been said by Mangesh sir, there are more to explore in this area, and people are exploring. Vijay Gaikwad explored, and some other people also have explored. Interestingly, I remember in Supreme Court when we were looking for whether Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar appeared in Supreme Court. So we found a case of 1952, Kamleshwar Singh's case, which was being argued by Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar in 1952, when in 1958 the today's building you can see of Supreme Court was constructed, and in 1952 it was earlier in the Rashtrapati Bhavan. So Dr. Ambedkar, Babasaheb Ambedkar was law minister before all these, and then he had been in the process of making a constitution of India, and there was a article involved regarding the land acquisition, Article 31. So this was the case where the Bihar Legislative Assembly passed a law that without paying compensation we can acquisite to the private properties. And this went on to come to the Supreme Court during all these years, because in 1950, Babasaheb Ambedkar submitted, we all adopted the Constitution of India. And in 52, very interestingly, there is one anecdote I want to share, that while arguing that, Babasaheb Ambedkar, the judge notes this in that judgment, that Babasaheb Ambedkar argued a philosophy of law, which is a spirit of the Constitution, going beyond the argument of the constitutional interpretation. He went on to say that why my argument is in consonance with the spirit of Constitution, and why he considered to the Mr. Das, who was also trying to emphasize on Article 31's argument. In that, judge notes in his judgment, it was 5 judges before whom Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar was arguing. Judge notes very interesting thing, that Dr. Ambedkar has shown us some judgments of American courts and also some of the text to establish his argument that why the spirit of Constitution is against the prohibitory laws. So this is how his profound acumen was as a lawyer, which we never, see in today's time. because people don't go beyond. And it has been told to me that he submitted written submission and he used to write on the column of the left side that what he has to say this to you. So he used to prepare a day before the judgments, like the what the expected question will be asked by the judges. So in that, it is very interesting to say here that SR Das was about to ask him that you are the main person who drafted the Constitution of India. You are the architect of the Constitution of India. And he posed him the question in that spirit, that how are you going to justify Article 31 of the Constitution of India? And Dr. Ambedkar very brilliantly replied, with the spirit of the Constitution, which was his main argument. Later, that judgment was overruled after 10 years. And in Indian judiciary, 13 judges sat together in 1973, which we call it as a Keswanan Bharti, the landmark basic structure case. In that, Dr. Ambedkar's view, which was not upheld at the relevant time in 1952, was upheld. And that became the law of the land even today also. That how the spirit of constitution can prevail over the laws. And that is what we have to see, that how Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar's knowledge went on to go in such a way that the doctrines, the philosophy of law, the jurisprudence, and his argumentative ability to convince the judge. It is not the thing that Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar as a lawyer, because he was a lawyer by profession. All along throughout his life, he was a lawyer. And he knew what he's doing. Even we have a Simon Commission evidences, we have Southborough, and many things where the evidences were led by Dr. Ambedkar. So he knew the intricacies of the law. He knew the intricacies of the travel of the law throughout the years. And that is how he, if you read the Constituent Assembly debates, where he's convincing all the Constituent Assembly members, he is showing his acumen, legal acumen, that how this fits in the present scenario and how in the future generation we will have to leave it for the future generation to decide on certain issues. I remember when somebody was asking me about the constitutional morality in one of the program, he said that why did Dr. Ambedkar not said anything about the election commissioners, the election in the Constituent Assembly? Why did it kept himself silent? I said there are silences in the Constitution, which Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar thought that our Constitution is not to be stuck in 1950 when we were adopting it. It has to get evolved. And it evolved because Dr. Ambedkar thought that so. And therefore, Dr. Ambedkar thought that in the coming future years, the constitutional morality will change. And because of that constitutional morality, we can see that people, those who were adamant in accepting the societal norms at the relevant time, like what Mangesh sir has said about R.D. Karve's case, where the the some of the publication which was obscene was not acceptable to the Brahmins. They said that no, it is not acceptable, even if it is a science. But today, why it is not the obscene? Why one can have a sex education? Because that was the thought, which was the genesis of that thought was there in that R.D. Karve's case, where Dr. Ambedkar prophesied that in future that this problem will be solved by the people of India, the future generations which will come. So this is how the profound his vision was. And as a lawyer, he always tries to establish, like we always say, there is one line which Mangesh sir has said in the initial slide about the thinking of the individual. A lawyer has to argue or build his argumentative ability while keeping in lawyer's mind the individual's role in the society. And that is what is one of the basics of the arguments, what he tried to establish. Because in court of law, we are not here, or Dr. Ambedkar was never there to show that he is intellectually supreme to the judge. But it was the art of Dr. Ambedkar to convince the judge. And convincing is the main thing so that he can win over his case. And therefore, he says that he knew the status of mind of the individual in the society. And that is how we still are researching on this topic, that how Babasaheb Ambedkar used to build all over his arguments. We could manage to give some of the, the literature with regard to that. So that is all I wanted to share with this session. Thank you, Mangesh sir, for giving me an opportunity. Jai Bhim. Thank you. Your voice is not coming.
Thank you, Advocate Pratik ji, because it was your idea only to go for this session. I think at some point of time in the future, I would like to run 6 sessions on Babasaheb Ambedkar as a lawyer. So, this is just to give a test of, his great, legal prowess.
Definitely.
And, this, thank you so much for,
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
giving us this, opportunity to talk about this very important aspect of Babasaheb Ambedkar.
Thank you.
I can imagine that in the future, some people can model, the court cases that Babasaheb Ambedkar has argued.
Yes, yes.
And that will give, the constant assembly debates are the best example as well,
Best example.
isn't it? So thank you so much,
Thank
Advocate
you.
Saab. And
Thank you.
so let's open up the forum for any discussion or any critical sort of thought that you would like to, bring in, or anything that you would like to share with in the class. Anything from anybody before we conclude? So before we end, there is a very beautiful quote of Babasaheb Ambedkar, after he is a law minister, and on the, lack of good judges in India. And I found that statement very prophetic, because he says that the old lawyers never give the space to the younger ones. And he saw that the law profession was in shambles when he was alive. And he said that India doesn't have the quality lawyers. And I think that's a very important statement that Babasaheb Ambedkar made that time. And we have seen that, Babasaheb Ambedkar was a man who always strove for justice. His life is nothing but justice. He's a symbol of justice. And, he practiced justice in his day-to-day life. He practiced equality in his day-to-day life. There is now some photos are available when he went to the Aurangabad High Court, and, he listened to the argument in Urdu. And he's making a very important point there. He's saying that, the word equality in different languages can confuse. So, he is reflecting on what language we should use, vernacular. He's of course support, use of the local languages. But, there is a scope for, understanding the terms like equality and, all these things. And he's, as Advocate Pratik has, shared with us, he had such a broad knowledge of American laws and the American court cases, and the, of course, the English court cases, and such was his, vast knowledge of law and of so many disciplines, that he could bring that knowledge to fight the cases. And as I was telling you that, he, when he argued, he was also educating. So in the case of this Vividarutta, the judge asked him to give him the books that he is reading in order to get a clarity for himself. The judge himself is asking Babasaheb Ambedkar, the lawyer, to give the books that he is reading. And Kadar Bhai, the another judge, is also saying that he will share his book, to which the magistrate is saying that no, he doesn't need his books. He wants books from Babasaheb Ambedkar. So see, this is the persuasive power, because this course is on persuasion. This course is on art of how we can persuade other people, how you can persuade, when you are using the deliberative rhetoric, how you can persuade the assembly or the parliament for the future choices. When you are making the mass speeches in front of the people, you are creating a community. The way Babasaheb Ambedkar created a community when he spoke, the speech, when he spoke in the mass gatherings, like in the assembly of 10,000 people, 15,000 people, 70,000 people, 5 lakh people, the largest in Nagpur. So That's one aspect. And the third, which is about judicial or forensic rhetoric, where you argue whether what has happened was right or wrong, whether it was just or unjust. And we have seen that Babasaheb Ambedkar was the master of these three forms of rhetoric. He was the master of the political rhetoric, as we have seen. He was the master of demonstrative rhetoric, and through these court cases, we have seen how he mastered the art of judicial rhetoric. So, there is a lot to learn, lot to imitate, lot to emulate from Baba Sahib's life. And we hope that there will be many lawyers upcoming in the community who will walk in his footsteps. This is a very important profession, as the James of a human being has told us that he loved the law as a profession. He could have been anything. In 1916, he's taking admission in law. That time he was in New York, he's coming from New York, the hotbed of the, finance. And had he wanted, he could have made his future in America as well. But, he chose to come back, study law in England, practice law in India. So he has all the moves calculated. His profession was in accordance with his vision of justice. So you see, there is a lot to learn from this class. I hope those young people who will be listening to this class will learn as to how Babasaheb Ambedkar had made his profession itself as a vehicle for not only earning his livelihood but also for transforming the world around him and making it more just. So with this I conclude, unless there is anything on your mind. So this is a fifth class, and I am up for another class, sixth class, and Vishal Thakre from the University of Texas has is going to conduct some of the classes. He's studying rhetoric and communication. He's pursuing his PhD, so he will add value to the sessions. So he's going to conduct a few classes. He's going to write to me soon. So hopefully that will be also very interesting class. So let's end here today. Thank you so much for joining in, and see you in the next session. Jai Bhim, Namo Buddha.